story begins by introducing an era known as the Age of Great War. It was a time where only the strong dictated law and truth. Within this ruthless world existed the Murim territory. In that land, there was a single man who stood at the absolute peak of martial power, a man who forced the entire world to kneel before him. His name was Asura. The scene then reveals an ongoing battlefield. Asura stood alone, surrounded by hundreds of enemies fighting them by himself. He lived up to his fearsome name, displaying overwhelming madness and resolve, though he appeared without a single weapon and stood alone. His martial prowess was so powerful that it destroyed everything in its path. Before the might of the man hailed as the strongest, even the masters who once ruled the era fell one by one. Eventually, under the banner of the kingdom of Asura, he succeeded in unifying the world beneath the heavens. The scene transitions smoothly to Muon, the capital of the Asura kingdom. There, Asura's subordinate Mowal bowed deeply and offered her congratulations for defeating countless enemies at once. Asura showed no interest in praise and demanded the true reason for summoning him. Mowal addressed him respectfully as her lord and acknowledged him as a historic king. To match his immense prestige, she expressed her wish to offer him a secret manual. She explained that she had summoned him for that very reason and declared that only Asura was capable of handling the power contained within the manual. Asura showed mild curiosity, the mention of a secret manual. He placed his hand on a bowl prepared nearby. The moment he did so, his hand was cut, and his blood spilled into the bowl. Suddenly, countless chains erupted and restrained him. Mowal then declared that Asura's era had ended. She announced that from that moment onward, she would rule the kingdom and demanded his surrender. Asura effortlessly shattered the chains binding him and reminded her of who he truly was. In response, Mowal ordered her subordinates to immediately activate the barrier of the infinite abyss. Asura moved to strike her down, but before he could act, the infinite abyss engulfed him completely and dragged him inside. Those present immediately bowed before Mowal and greeted her as their new queen. After betraying her own lord, Mowal stood firmly as the ruler of the Asura kingdom. The narration explains that just like that, the life of the Fist King Asura, who once ruled the world, came to a hollow end. The scene then shifts to a system interface notifying a player that they had been summoned as a player and asking whether they wished to join. When no response was given, the system urged the player to hurry and press the accept button. Suddenly, the system window was struck by a punch. The one who had done it was a player named Yuta, who had just awakened from sleep. He wondered what had just happened as he sensed an ominous power around him. A small fairy accompanying him quickly warned him of an incoming dragon attack. Yuta narrowly dodged the assault. The dragon then unleashed flames from its mouth. The system announced the activation of Inferno Breath, an area of effect fire magic attack with massive damage. Climber's strategy immediately began analyzing the skill. The analysis reached 85% and was completed successfully. The system automatically countered the attack. Yuta's fire resistance increased dramatically, with a limited duration remaining. Using his holy sword, Yuta cut down the dragon and completely defeated it. The system declared the quest complete and announced that the 998th floor boss, Inferno Balrog, had been defeated. The final quest was revealed. Reaching the top of the tower and completing the conquest, Yuta let out a sigh of relief, realizing how close the battle had been. The fairy, visibly tense, asked if something was wrong. She reminded him that only the top of the tower remained and urged him to clear it quickly so they could reunite with their family. Yuta smiled and agreed with her. He reflected that 3 years had passed since he was summoned to this world. During that time, he had pushed forward relentlessly with only one goal in mind: clearing the tower. Now, with only the final floor remaining, an uneasy feeling settled over him. He sensed that something unknown awaited beyond this point. Preparing himself, Yuta advanced toward the final boss room. As he opened the door, he discovered that the one waiting inside was none other than Asura. Yuta mistook Asura for a spirit. The fairy, confused by his massive physique, mistook him for a gorilla. Asura demanded to know who Yuta was. He looked around and concluded that Mowal, the traitor, had summoned him to this place. Yuta was shocked that the supposed spirit could speak with intelligence. Regardless, he believed that if this being was the final boss, then he had to defeat him. Yuta launched a powerful attack with his holy sword. He believed the strike had finished Asura. However, Asura casually blocked the blade and questioned Yuta's actions. Yuta was stunned and realized that a final boss truly lived up to the title. The system activated Climber's strategy to analyze Asura's weakness. The analysis completed at 78%. Yuta attacked again, only for Asura to block the strike once more. Immediately after, the system reported a critical error. The success probability of Climber's strategy dropped drastically to an almost negligible value. Yuta was horrified, realizing that the success rate had fallen to a level he had never experienced before. He questioned the true identity of the old man standing before him. Asura told Yuta not to be frightened, and stated that he did not cross blades with those unworthy of battle. He judged Yuta's current combat worth to be extremely low, and declared that using his fists would be a waste of internal energy. Instead, Asura demanded to know the true nature of this place. Yuta began to understand the situation. He realized why Heavenly Judgment and Climber's strategy had failed. This stage had been designed as a pure test of strength from the beginning. Yuta acknowledged that damage could not be dealt due to a hidden mechanism. He concluded that he needed to prove his true value in order to unlock the damage system. The system activated Yuta's unique skill, the Chosen Hero. All of his stats were maximized for a limited duration. Yuta declared that this was the absolute maximum limit the system could grant. Asura observed Yuta's status window, which displayed his name, level, immense health and mana, and maximized attributes. Seeing this, Asura became enraged. He mocked the concept of strength and agility being defined by maximum numerical values. He condemned the obsession with blue system windows and the idea of measuring power through mere digits. He declared such thinking to be utterly disgusting. Asura stated that it no longer mattered what kind of place this was. He resolved to correct Yuta's rotten mindset from its very foundation. With overwhelming force, Asura shattered Yuta's status window. Errors flooded the system. Yuta's entire progression history was deleted, and recovery failed. Asura smirked and demonstrated that true strength could not be measured by numbers. He declared that the tedious game of statistics ended there. Yuta watched in despair as all his stats vanished. He was reduced back to level 1. Overcome with regret, he realized that he had made a terrible mistake. Yuta reflects on his past and explains that he was summoned to a mysterious tower. He climbed the tower alongside many comrades. However, in the end, the only one who survived was him alone. Only him, the scene shifts to a moment from the past. Yuta is shown speaking with his fairy companion, Nova. He wonders whether conquering the tower would truly allow them to return to their original world. The more he thinks about it, the stranger everything feels. They do not even know what dangers lie ahead, yet they are simply told to climb. With nothing guaranteed, he feels that refusing would have been the most natural choice. Nova agrees with Yuta's concerns. She acknowledges that even if they reach the top of the tower, returning to their world may be impossible. However, she recalls the words of the goddess Yeshua, who claimed that everything within the tower has a purpose. Nova expresses her belief that Yuta's journey will also hold a precious meaning. The narration then returns to the present. Yuta is crying loudly in despair as he looks at his inventory and status window. Every system interface has vanished. All data has disappeared completely. He cannot even begin to imagine the reality of his situation. Asura looks down on him and mocks his pitiful state. He questions whether Yuta is still unable to escape his delusional obsession with numbers. He declares that those disgusting blue system windows will never appear before him again. Yuta trembles in fear and desperately begs for mercy. Asura reiterates that he does not kill those who are not worth fighting. He demands to know what kind of place this is, and asks how he can return to his real world. Yuta wonders if Asura might be a player just like himself. He then admits that he does not truly know how to return either. Other than clearing the final stage, there is no known method of going back. He states that there is no other way. Asura is confused by the mention of a final stage and the concept of clearing it. To him, the words sound like meaningless nonsense. Yuta is internally baffled by Asura's behavior and wonders if he came straight out of the Middle Ages. Trying to simplify things, Yuta explains that, in short, the entire tower must be broken from the bottom to the top. Taking those words literally, Asura begins smashing the tower violently with his fists, using the overwhelming force befitting the Fist King Asura. He starts destroying the structure piece by piece. Yuta panics and realizes that this is not what he meant by breaking the tower. He questions why Asura would destroy such a beautiful tower. The system immediately reports an error. It announces that the tower has been destroyed by an abnormal entity. The entire tower collapses. As Yuta falls downward with the crumbling structure, he is stunned by the realization that the old man destroyed the entire tower with a single bare-handed punch. He cannot comprehend how such a thing is even possible. At that moment, Nova appears and grabs Yuta, saving him from falling. Yuta asks where she had been, and admits that he thought she had disappeared forever. Nova apologizes and explains that she was late because she went back to retrieve his sword. She urges him to forget everything else and escape immediately. She warns that something terrible is about to happen. Yuta questions what could possibly be worse than their current situation. The system suddenly announces another error. It reports abnormal access detection. All data from the destroyed tower begins to be deleted. A massive portal opens nearby. Yuta watches in shock as all the debris from the tower is sucked into it. He does not understand what kind of hole it is, but he knows that getting caught in it would mean certain doom. Asura emerges from the portal. He remarks that it feels as though he stepped on something earlier and wonders if it was just his imagination. He then questions why nothing is happening, despite having completely broken the tower exactly as instructed. Yuta explodes in anger and yells at Asura. He insists that this is not what breaking the tower was supposed to mean. He declares that he does not care how overpowered Asura is, and demands to know if he plans to keep smashing everything in his path without thinking about the consequences. Before things can escalate further, the true owner of the tower appears. It is revealed to be Manhwa. She confronts Asura and accuses him of being the arrogant bastard who destroyed her tower. Asura grits his teeth in rage and realizes that she had been hiding here all along. He curses her betrayal and attempts to attack her. However, Manhwa strikes first using her mana, instantly knocking him down. Manhwa demands an answer and repeats her question, asking whether Asura is the one who destroyed the tower. Yuta is utterly shocked. He cannot believe that someone managed to suppress that monstrous old man in an instant. A realization begins to form in his mind. He wonders if this person might be the goddess Yeshua that Nova once mentioned. Asura rises and acknowledges that Manhwa is clearly different from the one he once knew. He notes that the Manhwa of his past never used such strange power. Based on the way she speaks, he becomes certain that she is the one who created the tower. He accuses her of being responsible for the disgusting numbers-based system as well. Asura accepts the situation as it is. He condemns both the tower and the revolting numbers game. He then demands that she immediately return him to his kingdom. Manhwa bursts into laughter, finding him genuinely amusing. She mocks the idea of returning home by breaking the tower and questions who told him such ridiculous nonsense. Nevertheless, she grants him permission. She tells him to smash towers and status windows as much as he wants. She promises that if he truly destroys everything she created, she will send him back to his original world. However, she warns that it will not be easy. The system then announces that some data from the recycle bin is being restored. Dummy players begin to be generated. Manhwa creates numerous dummy players. Yuta is left in shock as he stares at their overwhelming numbers. With a twisted grin, Manhwa explains that from this moment onward, the towers that must be destroyed still exist in vast quantities. Without any warning, Yuta suddenly attacks Manhwa with his sword. Manhwa reacts with contempt, questioning who this worthless piece of trash is. Manhwa reveals that all the people she had summoned had already died while climbing the tower. One by one, those who died had gradually become Yuta's comrades. Seeing his dead comrades standing alive again leaves Yuta completely shocked. From among those dead bodies, one man steps forward and asks Yuta to climb the tower together again. Just like before, Manhwa coldly states that no matter how strong Yuta and his companion are, they will not be able to do anything against this pile of boys. Hearing this, Yuta immediately charges toward Manhwa with his sword in hand and launches a direct attack at her. However, his sword strike fails to even touch her, as she creates a small barrier in front of her face. Burning with rage, Yuta questions how she could have the audacity to mock his comrades' corpses so cruelly. He condemns the creation of such a meaningless tower, calling it utterly senseless. He accuses Manhwa of trapping them inside the tower without reason and slowly killing everyone. Now, on top of that, she is using their dead bodies to ridicule them. To Yuta, none of this makes any sense. Manhwa pushes Yuta away from herself. She then explains that all of this makes perfect sense to her, because she is the creator of this world, and it is still imperfect. To make it perfect, she needs toys like Yuta and his comrades. She built the tower and forced them through such pathetic missions only to make Yuta stronger. Other than that, she has no real interest in him. She further declares that she no longer truly needs Yuta, because he failed to become as strong as she had expected. Because of this failure, she begins to make Yuta disappear. Mo-Wall activates her power in her hand, preparing to erase him. At that moment, Yuta realizes how foolish he has been. He understands how easily he became someone else's toy. Even after becoming a toy, he could not make himself powerful enough to protect himself. He feels overwhelmingly powerless, crushed by the fact that he cannot even defeat a single woman. This realization breaks him from the inside. As Mo-Wall attacks Yuta, her hand is suddenly cut off. From the side, Asura had thrown a stone at incredible speed, and it directly hit Mo-Wall's hand. Severing it, Mo-Wall is utterly shocked, as she never expected Asura to interfere and cut off her hand like that. She becomes furious, because when she activates her power on someone, she considers it a moment that should not be disturbed. Asura's interruption enrages her. Asura, on the other hand, feels delighted after making Mo-Wall suffer. Seeing Asura, Yuta realizes that this old man truly never learned how to give up. At first, Yuta thought Asura would also bow his head before this woman's power. But seeing him return to his true self, Yuta understands that Asura is the only one capable of defeating her. Asura moves forward to attack Mo-Wall. He grabs her by the neck and slams her into the ground with tremendous force. Once again, Mo-Wall is impressed by Asura's incredible power. However, she does not want such overwhelming power to run wild without purpose. Thinking this, she places her hand on Asura's chest and activates her power. Asura senses that Mo-Wall might be trying to trick him. Mo-Wall then moves closer and tells him to clean all the towers she has created in this world and return to her afterward. She says that she will be waiting for him. Along with this, she wants Asura to conquer every single nation in this world. After saying this, Mo-Wall disappears from that place. After she vanishes, Asura is left confused. Deep inside, he begins questioning Mo-Wall, wondering what kind of reason could exist for her to abandon him in such a world. Meanwhile, the undead start attacking Yuta. Yuta tries to block their attacks with his sword. He screams out his friends' names, desperately trying to call them back. Nova tells Yuta that no matter how much he calls out to them, they will not respond, because they have already lost all sense of themselves. Yuta is unable to understand what he should do next. The attacks of his dead friends begin to overwhelm him. At the same time, he hesitates to kill them with his own hands. Just then, Asura arrives and punches one of Yuta's comrades, asking him why he is not fighting. Seeing Asura act this way leaves Yuta completely shocked. Asura then tells him that he has many important things to do besides dealing with these worthless corpses, and he does not want to waste too much time here. Because of that, he orders Yuta to guide him in the fight. Yuta refuses, stating that these undead are his comrades. Hearing this, Asura becomes enraged. Asura tells Yuta to open his eyes properly and see the truth. He explains that these beings only look like Yuta's comrades, but in reality, they are nothing more than walking corpses with no spirit left inside their bodies. Because of that, Asura questions how Yuta can still call them his comrades. Asura realizes that Yuta has been trapped inside the tower for a long time, which is why he has become mentally and emotionally worn down by everything around him. Understanding this, Asura promises Yuta that he will definitely find Mo-Wall and punish her as well. At that moment, all the dead comrades attack both of them together. One by one, Asura separates their heads from their bodies without hesitation. Asura's anger rises because he dislikes anyone standing in his path. Because of this, he starts fighting like a monster. While fighting, Asura realizes that his internal energy is being restricted at a certain point. He immediately understands that this interference is Mo-Wall's doing. Instead of getting frustrated, Asura starts laughing, because breaking Mo-Wall's power now feels like a real challenge to him. Deep inside, he decides that no matter what Mo-Wall does, she will not be able to stop him. More dead bodies join the attack and rush toward Asura. Using his martial arts, Asura tears some of them apart with his bare hands, cutting some in half and ripping off others' hands, legs or heads at this place. Asura is clearly the strongest. Even more dead players move toward him, but Asura treats this battlefield like a warm-up. With a massive explosion of force, he destroys a large number of the dead at once. Yuta watches this battle in complete shock. For him, it is impossible to believe that a human being could be this powerful. However, in the middle of all this, Yuta notices something important. No matter how many times Asura defeats the dead, they keep regenerating. If this continues, only Asura's stamina will be drained. Realizing this, Yuta understands that he needs to help Asura. With this thought, he picks up his sword. Nova immediately stops him, saying that Yuta is already exhausted. According to her, if Yuta uses his holy sword attack in this condition, it could kill him. Yuta tells Nova that he understands the risk, but there is no other option left. At that moment, one of the dead comrades approaches Yuta and once again speaks to him in a slow, hollow voice, asking him to climb the tower together. Yuta immediately slashes that dead comrade with his sword. Filled with rage, he promises that he will definitely take revenge for his comrades. He swears that he will find that woman as soon as possible and force her to pay the price for everything she has done. Right after this, Yuta runs toward Asura and asks him whether he can handle his power or not. Then Yuta thinks to himself that for a human who is more powerful than a beast, his own attack would be as small as an ant. Even so, Yuta tells Asura to gather all the corpses in one place and asks him to move away from them. Asura, who is killing the dead with one hand, replies to Yuta without even turning his head and tells him not to give orders. Once all the dead are gathered in one place and Asura has moved away, Yuta grips his sword and starts running forward. Now it is his turn to attack. Before striking, Yuta looks at his innocent comrades. With tears in his eyes, he apologizes to them. At that moment, a yellow light begins to emit from his power. Yuta once again promises his comrades that he will take revenge. With this resolve, he activates his holy sword attack. The pressure of the attack causes the ground to crack apart. Immediately after, a massive explosion engulfs the entire area. Asura finds this attack extremely amazing. He realizes that Yuta is not very strong, but he is still useful. After unleashing such a powerful attack, Yuta's body finally gives out. Breathing heavily, he tells Asura that there is one thing he must remember clearly. He says that he is not the only one who wants that woman dead. Then Yuta forces himself to stand up, points his sword forward, and declares with burning determination that he is also among those who will send that woman to her death. After saying this, Yuta begins to lose consciousness. Asura immediately catches him. Asura finds it hard to believe that someone as weak and insignificant as an ant could still give orders to a king like him. This thought makes Asura laugh, and he decides that he will definitely give Yuta a reward for amusing him. Asura then lifts Yuta onto his lap and says that if Yuta ever becomes even stronger than him, he will personally allow Manhwa to kill him. For that day, they will simply have to wait. In the next scene, the story shifts to a different forest in this world. Near a mountainous area, someone suddenly appears at the exact place where Yuta caused the explosion. That person stands at a high point, calmly observing the aftermath of the blast. The figure is wearing a mask. From inside the mask, a red aura begins to leak out from the person's eyes, as if they are burning with an intense desire to kill. In the next scene, a vast landscape of massive mountains comes into view, with powerful streams of water flowing down from above. Beneath one of these waterfalls, Asura is seen sitting calmly, fully focused on his training. After training for a long time, he slowly opens his eyes and begins strengthening his physical body using the force of the water. He throws a punch with such incredible speed that the water bursts forward in a circular wave. Asura then realizes that he still cannot feel his internal energy properly. This makes it clear to him just how strong Manhwa's power truly is, as it has managed to seal even the strength of a monster like him until now. At that moment, his attention shifts to Yuta, who is still lying down due to his poor physical condition. Asura bluntly asks how long Yuta plans to keep resting, reminding him that there is no place for rest in this world. Yuta's condition is shown to be extremely bad, as he is still not fully recovered. Without warning, Asura kicks Yuta hard in the back. Yuta is sent flying and crashes into the rocky stones of the mountains. Despite this, Yuta immediately grabs his sword and gets ready to fight. He accuses Asura of bullying the weak despite having such overwhelming power, saying that this clearly shows Asura's true nature. He adds that if this is what Asura wants, then they should settle things with a direct hand-to-hand fight. Hearing this, Asura becomes certain that Yuta has still not fully regained his senses. However, Asura does not want to waste time on such matters. His mission is to quickly clear the towers and find Manhwa, so he tells Yuta to prepare himself and move along. Yuta's mind is completely shaken. He questions why they would destroy such perfectly built and beautiful towers, instead of directly going to find Manhwa first. Hearing this, Asura becomes angry and calls Yuta a foolish idiot. He then explains his own perspective, stating that Manhwa is most likely hiding inside one of the towers she created in this very world. If they want to find her, they must clear every single tower. Only then will they be able to reach Manhwa. Yuta understands Asura's logic, But another question arises in his mind about why he should even work together with him. To Yuta, Asura seems like a crazy old man. At that moment, Nova nervously whispers into Yuta's ear, saying that Asura feels like a dangerous person. She points out that the way Asura shattered Yuta's system window makes it possible that one day he could simply make Yuta disappear as well. Hearing their whispering, Asura asks Yuta what he is mumbling about and what he is waiting for. Frightened, Nova quickly hides behind Yuta. Asura then clarifies his position. He explains that he is not following Yuta, nor is Yuta following him. He says that he has started to like Yuta, mainly because Yuta's swordsmanship is exceptional and will be useful in the future. More importantly, both of them currently share the same goal of finding Manhwa. From a logical standpoint, traveling together is the best option. Asura further adds that once they meet Manhwa, if Yuta tries to fight her alone, it would not even take a second for her to send him to join his dead comrades. Because of this, Asura wants to start training Yuta from now on. With that decision, the two of them travel together and soon locate another tower. Asura stares at the tower with intense anger. At that moment, he turns his attention to a muscular human figure and remarks that she has grown significantly in just a few days. He states that if she continues working hard and strengthening her body like this, she will definitely be useful to him in the future. It is then revealed that this muscular human is Nova, who is no longer small and weak like before. After hearing Asura's praise, she thanks him by calling him her master. Asura continues praising her, saying that she truly has talent. Because of this potential, he decides that he will teach her even more about internal energy. Nova flexes her muscles with pride and tells Asura that all the credit goes to him, as his excellent training methods are what forced her to change and grow stronger. Asura suddenly thinks about Yuta and wonders why he still has not reached them. At that very moment, Yuta is seen arriving near them. Seeing him, Asura comments that Yuta is presenting himself exactly like a servant. Yuta is shown walking with the support of a stick. He is completely exhausted and asks them to stop for a while so he can rest. It is revealed that during these past days, Asura has put both Yuta and Nova through intense training. This training involved lifting massive trees to build muscle strength. Yuta is extremely weak during this training. However, he is shocked to see that Nova has progressed far ahead of him. Nova's muscles have grown so much that her double biceps are clearly visible. Seeing Nova advance so quickly completely extinguishes the fire in Yuta's heart. He becomes frustrated with the training and feels that he can no longer endure it. After such intense training, he can barely even walk. Asura observes Yuta's condition closely. Once Yuta finally reaches them, Asura relaxes slightly. He then turns his gaze back toward the tower and thinks to himself that this tower looks even stranger than the previous one. Nova feels eager to enter the tower and show off her new power. However, Asura cannot find any visible entrance to the tower. He tells Nova that since there is no entrance in sight, he will simply bring the entire tower down. Nova cheerfully responds that this is exactly what she expects from her master. Asura moves forward, preparing to destroy the tower with a single blow. Seeing this, Yuta crawls on the ground and desperately tells Asura not to do it, explaining that proper calculation should be done first. But Asura does not listen to him at all. He directly punches the tower. As soon as the punch lands, a system error notification appears. As the tower begins to collapse, a purple aura activates. A message appears stating, "Forced movement into the tower interior." Immediately after this, all three of them are dragged into the purple aura. In the next scene, a city comes into view where the buildings are heavily damaged. A bright light appears in the area, and from within it, Asura, Yuta, and Nova emerge. Asura looks around at the surroundings and becomes confused. Yuta is once again lying on the ground. As he observes the environment, he also becomes confused. Nova, however, is troubled by something else. Her muscular body has disappeared, and she has returned to her small, tiny form. Looking at the surroundings, Yuta briefly feels as if he might have returned to his real world. However, seeing the ruined state of the city leaves him uncertain. Suddenly, Nova looks to the side and is shocked. She urges the others to look in that direction as well. When Yuta looks, he sees numerous players' corpses scattered all over the place. He immediately realizes that the presence of players means this is not the real world after all. If this is not their real world, then the question arises of where they actually are. Amid this confusion, a voice suddenly echoes through the area, commanding everyone to respond to its call. As soon as those words are spoken, spirits begin to rise from the mouths of the corpses lying around. Asura stands there silently, watching everything unfold. Yuta becomes confused as he sees all the souls leaving the bodies and gathering in one place. Moments later, the same person descends slightly from the sky. As he looks at Asura and Yuta, he quickly understands the situation, realizing that they are new players who have come here only to become his prey. However, he warns them in advance not to try to resist. He declares that no matter how hard they struggled to climb the tower, only he will reach the top in the end. With these words, purple energy begins to flow from his hand. Using this magic, a massive skull demon is summoned. Compared to it, Asura and Yuta look as small as ants. Seeing this skeleton, Asura is momentarily shocked and immediately senses that this person's power exists on a completely different level. Without hesitation, Asura steps forward alone to attack. He stands directly in front of the skeleton. Seeing this, Yuta tells Asura to fall back. Believing the skeleton to be extremely powerful, Asura's aura flares up, and he cannot believe that Yuta considers such a lowly demon dangerous. With that thought, he prepares his punch. On one side is the skeleton's massive hand, and on the other side is Asura's single punch. When they collide, an enormous force erupts between them, as if the air itself is crushed. Once the force disperses, Asura mockingly calls the skeleton pathetic. With just a single punch from one hand, he has completely shattered the skeleton's skull. Disappointed, Asura turns his attention back to the man and comments that this is what he calls next-level power. He finds it hard to believe that someone with such lowly strength intends to defeat them and reach the top of the tower. He also calls the man an arrogant bastard, accusing him of hiding behind the monsters he creates and fighting from the shadows like a coward. Hearing these words enrages the man. In his fury, he summons another massive skull demon, along with a beast demon and a necromancer. After that, he addresses Asura again, stating that he acknowledges Asura's strength. He admits that until now he was merely testing them. He then declares that the real game is about to begin, because he wants to see how long Asura's stamina can truly last.